No? Yes, there we go. I saw a lot of B2B earlier, so I was like, where did our journeys take us? We don't know. We got a theater kid. Clearly I am, and I haven't worn one of these, I think, since I was probably doing that, so I'm feeling, the Britney joke now it's old, so I'm gonna have my Britney moment. Cool. So unlike some of the people we've seen today, there's been so much good stuff today. So much stuff I've been like, yes, preach. So good. Love all of that. And so there might be some common themes. Anywhere there is, I'm going to try to skirt past it because I am, I think, a presentation maximalist and love to have slides. So hopefully I can keep you entertained enough, though, and educated that this will be great. So let's see if this is working. Better together. Here we go. DigiMarcon 2024. My name is Chalice. I am the director of influencer and social at AMSIV. We're a performance marketing agency. We're across the country. We have a couple key locations: New York, Chicago. It's Bolingbrook, if you know where that is. And then Nashville, which is where I'm from. Well, not originally, but who is really from, where they are anymore. So why are we talking about social media today? We've already talked about social. Robert talked about this earlier. It's kind of been talked about in all the conversations. But there's a couple things. One, as we've already kind of covered, there's these trends in the market for social kind of as this really dedicated channel. And I love that I'm in front of a bunch of B2B individuals because I am a self-proclaimed B2B lover, especially from the agency side. Those are my favorite clients to work with. You know who you are. Because there's so much really cool opportunity, like we've been talking about, to really do something different. Wellness, beauty, fashion, those are areas that are on the forefront of innovation. We see it, it's trend, it's the culture that we participate in as brands, as Natalie was talking about. But there's still a lot of opportunity for B2B. There's a lot of room for innovation. There's a lot of room to be on the forefront of that, and that's what makes it really cool and exciting. So, trends. The industry usage of social, as I just mentioned, kind of B2B. And then this idea, we've kind of been talking about AI today a lot. I'm not going to dive too far into that, so we will take a quick AI conversation break. But just this idea of more with less. How do we do more with less? So there's a couple things I want to point out. I put these charts here so you know I did my research. But I'm going to move on and get the points to you. So really, one of the cool things that I was doing in my research about trends is that social media is really going to have a bigger seat at the marketing strategy table. Now, although it's 2024, at least probably once a week when I'm talking to a potential new client, someone, I'm still having to make the case of why they should be on social media. It's mind-blowing. Now, I totally understand some of the skepticism or hesitation. I know there was a question earlier about, but does it make sense for us to be on TikTok? Or what's the priority order of, what the platforms I should be on? I'm going to even put some of that kind of to the side and just say that we could all collectively nod, just do it before I even say what I'm going to say. We're all in agreement. Yes. Okay. That we should be on social media. 99% of the time. If you're the 1% that for some reason we can talk, let's figure that out. But there's a good reason for it. And the reason is that there's this, it's kind of, again, culture and commerce and the economy is going. There's this huge growing sector of the creator economy. We kind of touched on influencers, but that kind of, the flow and how we leverage influencers, creators, and even brands to really sell our products. And it's really legitimizing social. It's not just kind of like the fun, my nephew does social, should I be there? No, it's grounded. There's gravitas, it's not just, the young people's game anymore. It's also, we've again talking about trends. There's so much more that's happened now with social. It's not just there just for social. It's becoming our search. It's where we're making purchases. It's where we're learning about things. And so, we're really seeing this with Gen Z. Social is really becoming one of the leading places where they're starting their search. Spend on social marketing is going up. Agencies are buying and kind of acquiring influencer and social firms and bringing creators in-house. They're building out, they're investing in those spaces to be able to keep up with that. And then lastly, there's kind of, again, the shift, and there's a key word here, I don't know if anybody sees it, that we've been talking about a little bit, but engagement and authenticity. I don't know if any of you guys have been kind of were joking around with the rest of the internet about 2023, and the word of the year was authenticity. But that remains true, and there's a reason why that was the word. It's because we are craving that connection. We're craving, brands to be authentic. Those glass. There was a word that she used, glass box brands, to really see what's going on. So again, I'm just going to pull up some charts. We're going to breeze through these. The point of these charts is for you to know that I did my research, that other brands that are not just wellness and health are using it. So we've got finance, we got healthcare. Is my point proven? We good? We feel good about these charts? Moving on? Okay, great. Cool. So this idea of more with less. If you want to see those charts later, they're coming out I'll send it to you. But more with less. So again, this idea of AI and how to do more. So there's kind of, again, these changes in the platforms. They are continually evolving. They're not just trying to help us connect with each other and be more social, but they're also trying to get us to do more things. Buy on the platform, search, do all this stuff. So as a social media marketer, I get to now not only be a social media strategist, I also get to become a search marketer. I also get to become a designer. I also get to be a copywriter. I also get to do all those things, right? And that's often the most common conversation that we're having around social is, I wear 17 million hats and I get to do all the things, right? We get to keep doing more with less. So hello 2024. The economy. I know there's a lot of in-house individuals, but if you're I know on the agency side, we talk about this a lot. There's this, not necessarily an increase in budgets so much. We're kind of seeing same budgets coming in from clients, but we still need to do more. We still got to increase our value. We've got efficiency, go faster, do more, quicker. And then AI, we love it. Moving on. So this idea. Some quickly, that's kind of like our foundation, the context and the why we're talking about that today. Now, when I go to my whiteboard, I brought you a whiteboard. And by whiteboard, I mean chalkboard, because this is chalk. Almost got me. All right. So what I want to talk about is a couple formulas. We're going to the chalkboard because we're going to talk about formulas. Because math, and you're all B2B, so you're all making gross assumptions here. We're all so good at math, right? Just kidding. My whole team hates math. I'm the only one who likes it. So we have a couple working definitions here. I know you all know what this is. This is not to insult your intelligence. It's just to get us on the same playing field as we keep talking. So organic social, pretty pictures, posting. We can get there for free. Is it free to make the content? Not necessarily. Your time is worth something. But we don't have to pay to put it there, right? Paid social. We have to pay to put it there. That's it. That's the whole point. But we have a little bit more. We're going to dive into it. So that's our working definitions of these two things. Okay, so our first equation, this is going to get a little cutesy, so hang with me, okay? Just go with the vibe. Okay, so we've got paid minus organic equals media, all right? So one of my favorite things to talk about when we're kind of trying to conceptualize paid media is I like to talk about it as the one-to-many conversation, right? Billboard, I see it. We're all driving by it. Cool. You're talking to me, but it's not that personalized conversation that we're talking about. I get to just be as loud as I want, and I get to do what I'm doing right now, which is talk to all of you, and you all have to listen to me, and I get to say what I want, and I get to hope that maybe it moves you or impacts you, but I'm not really going to know unless you send me a nice note on LinkedIn later. That's my call to action. Okay. And so we've got paid media, paid minus organic equals media. So what I want to break down here are the benefits and the limitations of paid social. Okay. And I'm going to remind you, the presentation title is Better Together. So guess where we're going. Okay. Keep that in your mind. All right. So paid social, the benefits and the limitations. So what we've got here is that the benefits, we have this expanded reach. Like I said, I get to stand here in front of all of you and I get to talk, and I can also say, hey, I want to talk to table 4. Table 4, guess what? You're all great and at table 4. And this is why you need to hear what I have to say specifically. I get to be really specific, and I can talk to you, and I get to make that choice. I have control. Keyword, control. We were talking about control a minute ago. Control in paid media. We have these clear and direct results in ROI, a scary buzzword that we often hear, right? We get to see A plus B equals C. Fabulous. We love that. We can see that direct line. We can optimize and adjust to it. We can drive specific objectives. Brand awareness. I want you all to see this. I want to go to 1 million people. Click website traffic. I want you all to see this landing page. Fabulous. We love that because that's the thing I'm trying to get you to do. We love being able to have that control. Staying competitive in the organic space, and we're going to get to this in a minute. But in the organic space, we sometimes our reach, our access, it's limited. It doesn't go as far. And so this allows us to kind of bolster, kind of give ourselves an edge and stay in really loud or maybe even quiet environments, get outside of them and kind of change up the pace. Pausing, breathing. Okay, moving on. Anybody else just start talking really fast when they get excited? Okay. I told you, theater kid. Are you glad that I started with that? Okay, limitations. So what are some of the things? Cost and budget constraints. The minute that we got to start maybe pulling back a little bit, that can really, really impact performance, right? And because it's a one-to-one, we put in the money and we see the thing. It's a, gumball machine. We also have ad fatigue and declining trust. What was one of the first things I said earlier was authenticity, connection, engagement, right? We have some limitations here with paid social, with this ad fatigue, this declining trust, because we're maybe just putting out that learn more, buy now, shop here, I'm a robot. So that kind of lowers our idea of a brand and what our experience might be with them. The platform algorithm changes. Unfortunately, it will always happen for the rest of time. So we do have to adapt to this, and sometimes that'll change how things are being optimized. Adam Missouri, do video, don't do video. Do vertical, don't do vertical. It changes every day. But we have to do these things and these strategies to try to keep up with it. Limited admin inventory, just keeping things tighter, especially political year. Things getting tight, a little bit tricky. Lastly, it can create a dependency on these paid channels. If all of our energy and all of our work and everything is going into just this paid area, what happens the minute that cost and budget constraints come in? It can get a little scary because all of our eggs have been in that basket. So, next equation. Exciting. Organic minus paid equals social. Cute. So this is where we're moving from the one-to-many conversation into the one-to-one conversation. Did I say it right? One-to-many to one-to-one. Just checking myself. So one-to-one, I get to come sit down and I get to say, hey, how are you doing? What's your name? Caitlin. It's nice to meet you, Caitlin. I'm Chalice. I'm really glad to be talking with you today. And we get to actually converse, and I get to see her, and I get to see that she's wearing a gray shirt and cool pants and cool shoes. My toes are that color as well. Right? We get to actually maybe establish some rapport and establish a connection. We were talking about that today as well. And we get a lot of that, but just like anything else, apologies for that typo or not typo. Apparently it's overlapping there. But with organic social, we also still have our benefits and limitations. So benefits. It's cost effective and free to use, as I mentioned before. Outside of your effort and time, right? That takes time and energy. It's important to do. It's free to put it there. It also helps build brand identity and credibility. Natalie was talking about this, about how that brand story and that brand narrative. Who are you? Where they want to know your why. Why do I care about you? It fosters community engagement. So again, we get to sit down and say, hey, Kathy, that's Brittany. Brittany, that's Kathy. I work with them. I know them. So we get to foster that community. We get to have these conversations. We all get to come into this room. We get to actually have relationships. Robert said this really well earlier when he was saying that, probably some of the best things that you're going to take away from this conference are going to be that person that you met that you didn't know that you were going to meet, right? That's fostering community engagement, not just with your brand, but with each other. It provides valuable audience insights. Again, we've talked about this today. Hi, I get to see the comments. I get to go on Quora. I get to go on Reddit. I can see what you have to say about this thing, even if I'm not engaging the conversation, or I can engage with you. There we go. It also complements other marketing efforts. So as I mentioned before, social's kind of, it's turning into search, right? So I am really fortunate to work with some really amazing, smart other individuals in the digital marketing space that are thought leaders. And, we get to have these conversations. Hey, SEO is kind of seeing this problem. How can we help with social? Hey, social's having this issue. How can we help with paid? Hey, paid's having this issue. How can we help with influencer? We get to have these smart conversations because the theme of the day is that we have to be together, and that we are better together, and that we are no longer siloed. We can't have these siloed Tactics, limitations, limited reach. We know this. I mean, that 2%, Facebook stat that's been around forever, like, no one's going to see it, is not wrong. But, we have some ways that we can kind of get around it. Slow growth and limited scalability, same kind of situation. Lack of targeting capabilities. I can't tell you who's going to see it. I hope you come to my party. I hope you want to see what I have to say, but I can't necessarily control that you're going to come. We love those algorithm changes. Same issue. And then time intensive and resource heavy. It can be hard. Making those graphics, making the content, getting the video out, getting the audio, making all of that work is a lot of work. And then unlike, this is that scary marketing thing, ROI, no guaranteed results. It's a little bit harder. And proving the value of these organic tactics that we all know are imperative to what we're doing is really hard when you say, I can't promise that the last 3 days I spent on that video is going to do anything, but I promise it's really good. Boss doesn't love that. So we have to think a little bit more differently. So, last equation. Organic plus paid equals social media. Did you see that? It was media, then social together. They're social media. So fun. So I want to introduce this idea of social media ecosystems. Probably heard this phrase before, maybe not, who cares? Either way, it's the idea that we have to integrate all these things together. They're symbiotic. They have to play with each other. They have to be informed by one another. Otherwise, we're just wasting time. We're wasting money. We're wasting energy. It's not that we're not going to see success independently if we don't do this, but we're really missing a huge opportunity if we don't play this game. So let's see what's on my next slide. Stats for proof. Some of my favorites on here. 62%, I'm going to have to read this one. 62% of consumers are likely to buy for seeing social content. 74% of consumers rely on social networks to guide purchases. 25% of brands that engage on social see a 25% higher market share, and so on and so forth. There's a lot of reason to be here, and it's really important because it's not just about you should be on social because you have to be on social. It drives revenue. It drives revenue, which is why we're here at the end of the day, because we're marketing teams. We're marketers, and that's a lot of our job, right? The upper funnel is really fun, but we got to get to the bottom. We have to drive revenue. Speaking of funnels, I believe that's next. Ooh, nice segue, Chalice. Yes. Okay. So speaking of funnels, so this is literally, I typed in marketing funnel on Google, pulled the first picture, and I pasted it right here. It was really fancy. Okay. This is what we're all used to seeing. It's a general shape. It looks like that kid's toy just upside down. It's great. But there's a lot of truth and really, age-old wisdom to this. There's, we do have to become aware. We have to get interested. We have to make a decision. We have to action it. But there's a lot that kind of context, personalization that's missing from something that's this shape. Who wants to be put in a box these days? We all want to just free flow and be ourselves, right? Gen Z, let's do it. We see a lot more of this. Again, Google. So we love it. The modern online buyer's journey. So a lot of times it looks like this. So we still see very similar steps: awareness, consideration, purchase, post-purchase. But there's a lot of swirly whirlies in here. And when I was practicing this, I did to myself say swirly whirlies. Because they are swirly whirlies. They are, I think that's probably the best way to explain what's happening. They're looping around. We're kind of going through. We think about it. We walk away. We come back. We see something else. Somebody tells us about it. It goes around and around and around and around. It's not linear. And that really speaks to our, again, human experience. Very few of us, and very few times are we actually, every once in a while, I don't know about you guys, but when I get that ad on Instagram and it's a thing, I'm like, I've never heard of this before. I love it. I need it. I'm buying it right now. Done. Dude, it's in my cart. Bought. Right? Those are like unicorn moments. We love those moments. Those are fantastic. And I personally always feel very seen. I'm like, I'm rewarding you with my purchase because you found me and you knew I needed this, and I will give you my money. You're welcome. Think about it that way. It's all a game. And you do it for each other. Help each other out that way. There's another kind of shape that I like to think of it as too, that again, Google, we love it. Click, take 4. Nope. All right, I'm going to tell you about it while we maybe figure out the tech. It's not running. I'm figuring it out. Tech. All right, so what I'm going to paint the visual for you of is a bow tie shape, right? But essentially the idea is that there's kind of a stuck middle part where we're going to keep going through this consideration. Thank you, my hero. He's going to fix it. I know it. We're just manifesting. And so there's kind of this consideration part, this looping that happens. And one of the things that I again want to drive home is that is really trying to though speak to the human experience. It's not just saying, hey, you are going to go from here to here to here to here. I'm a robot. There it is. There's the bow tie. But rather, you're going to go through a lot of stuff, and we're going to try to meet you where you're at. Again, one of the things Natalie was talking about is meeting people where they're at. Robert also kind of talked about this, and this is where it kind of comes back to that platform question. I think you asked that about it earlier, which is, what is the posture that your customer is coming to you with? I'm just, again, painting the picture of, some of you are on your phones right now. Don't blame you. Do your thing. I respect you. You're adults. But when you are in here, out there, and you pull up social, why are you doing it? You're zoning out. You're bored. You're just getting a dopamine hit. You're rarely are we going to it being like, I need to go find this thing right now. You're maybe going to go check in on someone. You're going to see what everybody else is up to. But most of the time, the posture we're coming to it with is, I'm just like chilling. I'm relaxed. I'm not really doing a lot with it, right? And so when we come to individuals who are chilling and relaxing and scrolling and zoning out and watching TV at the same time, and we're like, I know that your pain point in IT is this thing, that technical term, and SaaS. I'm like, but I'm watching Bridgerton. Not right now, I'm not, but I'm thinking about that. Thank you. When we can actually kind of change our messaging a little bit to be able to remember, again, where the human's coming from in that posture when they're going to be in that space, we can, again, refine that messaging to be a little bit more something that might sit with them a little bit longer, that might, actually make a bigger impact later down the road. Squares. Love it. Moving on. Okay, cool. So I took everything we talked about before and I put it on one slide. Is it a lot of text? Yes, but I want to make a point. So basically across the top, that's all the paid social. Across the bottom, it's all the organic social. So I did this really cool thing with animations. And what I want to point out, though, is that there's a little bit of a yin yang thing that happens. And with almost everything that's happening with paid, basically all the benefits of paid social can kind of soothe the pains that come with limitations on organic social, and vice versa. Here's my cool animations that prove that. Here's how each of these things, I'm not going to talk through each of them, but expanded reach and targeting is great on paid social, and we really struggle with that on organic social, so we can use those things together. Same with the targeting, same with the ROI, same with the objectives, etc., etc., etc. Right? It keeps going. It keeps going. There's one thing I will give you that we can't soothe with the other, but we can help each other with, which is our algorithm changes. But we can do our best, and we can all commiserate. But my point here is that we really need to be able to leverage both of these things to be able to make sure that we are not missing any opportunities. I think that's one of the biggest things that I see with our clients is, hey, we have like, for the year, it's $1 million budget. It's all going into social. It's only paid. And you're like, sweet. When's the last time you posted on Instagram? When's the last time you posted on Facebook even? God forbid. 2 years ago? Sweet. I'm really glad that we're spending all this money here, because you're missing low-hanging fruit. You're missing all these signals to the platform. You're missing all these opportunities to keep the user journey, again, thinking back to that funnel, keep that entire journey in that space. I'm not saying that everybody's entire buying journey is all going to be on social. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is that there's zero reason why we shouldn't have our social presences and strategies optimized to be able to aid in that entire process happening on social. It would be a sore miss if we did that. Let's see what's next. What's next? What are the common barriers? Why don't we do this more often? It's interesting because, again, there weren't a lot of people who raised their hand on the agency side. So I know I'm talking to a lot of people who are in-house places. And again, my B2B files, I love it. It's my sweet spot. Chef's kiss. But one of the common things, there's a couple common themes that I see both on the agency side as well as looking in onto the client side, which are going to be team structures is one of the big barriers. So oftentimes I have seen that paid social gets lumped in under maybe digital media or paid media. It gets maybe put into the demand gen, the performance marketing space. And then we've got organic social. And that usually goes into comms and, our kind of more content marketing, things like that. And those two teams often are in different spaces who report to different bosses, who maybe all report up to a CMO. But that's a lot of people deep that are trying to connect gaps, and they're not necessarily talking to each other. I have had clients where it has taken us as an agency having a really well integrated system to be able to try to integrate it for our clients because they're not talking to each other. So that is a big pain point, right? If we're having different teams, you are responsible for these KPIs, I'm responsible for those. Nobody's working together. We've also got resource allocation. Again, kind of what I mentioned before. We have $1 million for paid social, but we haven't posted on organic social. But we have maybe different teams. So nobody's going to be like, hey, that's maybe not a good idea, right? So kind of an improper resource allocation, different goals and metrics. Again, those teams might be reporting to different things. So to be able to address this, we really have to reframe the value proposition of social media. We have to restructure it and kind of change how we're thinking about it. Again, as a representative of a performance marketing agency, I understand this pain point because we really, again, our clients come to us because they're like, Amciv crushes it with results. And we do. We crush it. However, we can't always just do the things that are bottom funnel, you're going to buy, and all your sales are going up by 200% tomorrow. We have to think bigger. We have to think about these other, sometimes someone might call softer things. Awareness, credibility, trust, community. Because when we're doing that, we're investing in not just the short-term results, but the long-term results. I've also had this conversation around SEO. SEO is amazing. It does so much. It's imperative. But there's a lot of stuff that's about long-term gains. You have to build that trust, that authority, that expertise to be able to really see the impact of your work and see those ranking factors go up. But that's not going to get you your quick win. So that's where, you can bring in paid, and sometimes they'll kind of work together. Same thing here. We have to be able to use all of our tools in our tool belt to be able to make a bigger difference. What's risk by not having all these things integrated? We can really have ineffective audience targeting. We'll have this disjointed brand experience. One team and siloed channel performance, right? One team might be saying, we're pushing this ebook this week, Microsoft, something, right? We're pushing it out. Here it goes. And the other team's like, we've been talking about the Google stuff for the last 2 months. There's nothing on our feed that's talking about that. That's really disconnected. And that also is really diminishing the user's journey. Because if I see your ad, I'm like, oh, I want to learn more about that Microsoft thing. I go to your profile to suss you out. Do you even do that? They're like, oh, well, we've been running this for 2 months. You're like, well, nobody gave us the memo. So we really can then have now given the customer a bad taste in their mouth about who we are in our organization. That imbalanced resource allocation, slower growth and limited scalability because we're not firing on all cylinders. And then again, it's really in working together that we're able to kind of weather those algorithm changes. It also allows us to more fully quantify the ROI of social, right? So if we're just looking at one piece of the puzzle, we're missing the bigger picture and we're not able to accurately report out everything that's being accomplished with social media as a tool and a medium. So how do we do this? I want to give you practical ways. We've kind of talked a lot about philosophy, blah, 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 blah. Let's get to the brass tacks, okay? So strategy and tactics. Those are two different things. I've been talking to my teams about that. I know that should be maybe obvious, but we've been talking about this as a team of like, there's a difference between strategy and tactics. They're different. One is what we're doing. The next one's how we're doing it. So we're going to talk about what we're doing. Strategy. So again, we made our own fancy version of that messy middle swirly whirly chart. Okay, just to kind of get the point across. You're going to see some things you recommend or recognize, right? So there's kind of, again, this different stages of the quote, of the funnel, the swirly whirly, whatever. But there's kind of these general things that we go through as consumers that we need to process through. You could call this awareness. We're calling it trigger. So we need to validate first the problem that our product solves or spark the interest of your type of product as a solution. We have to, again, speak to what the consumer's pain point is, what their human need is, what they're actually coming to us with, what's the posture, and meet them there. So we don't need to say, hi, we're AMSIV. Nice to meet you. It's, hey, the algorithm's really kind of messing everybody up right now on SEO. Are you feeling that? Right? That's a very different message that makes you maybe interested in now engaging with me in a conversation. Attract. Then we can kind of start to establish our brand and talk to audiences through that branded education. Like, hey, AMSIV put out 4 different ways of how you can really weather the new meta, like, them diminishing how news is getting published on platform. Here's 4 ways. Branded, logo, love it. Next, acquire. Hey, we have ways to do that. If you want to work with us, we do these audits and we'd be happy to help you and help you navigate that kind of change. And last is retain. And this is really important. Oftentimes, the bottom of the funnel that I see, or the end of the journey, ends up being something that says conversion. It stops there. But that's such a missed opportunity, and something that's so wonderful about social is that we get the opportunity to create those brand ambassadors that Robert was kind of talking about earlier. We get to say, hey, did you have a good time with us? Did we have a good time at the party? Like, let me know. How can we keep helping you? Did you know that with us, if you do X, Y, and Z, you can get the most out of this thing you already purchased? The idea here with social, I'll lock this in. I also heard this validated on a podcast. So again, sources. I'm not telling you which, I'm just kidding. But what I want to lock in here is that, again, we have to meet them where they're at, and that we have to give more than we're trying to get on social. We have to give more than we're trying to get. We have to be okay with not gatekeeping everything. We have to be okay with not putting everything behind a paywall, behind a download, behind a sign up. We have to be okay proving our value. We've heard that come up several times today, this idea of value. We're swinging back to it. We need to see it. We understand that tactically, it's a lot easier to be like, yeah, sign up, because now we can track how you got from here to here to here to here. It does make that easier. But we're losing so many opportunities to connect with people on the human, emotional level when we're saying, but I don't want to give away all the stuff because I want you to pay me for it. It's like, I get that. But if we do that in a way, again, when we think about the whole or the entire social media ecosystem, we're not amplifying every single social media post that goes up. There's ways that you're maybe not showing that message to everybody who comes across. It's there for those who are trying to find it, and you're not making it harder to move through that journey. Okay, so there's a lot of words on this. It's going to be a little TLDR, okay? Save it for later. But this is more to showcase for you an example of how to kind of think about this, right? So I'm going to challenge all of you to not try to read all these words right now. Challenge. And then you would say, challenge accepted. Sweet. All right. So the idea here is that we identify kind of what that journey is that we're going to go with them on. Again, we've talked about the different life buyer journey, the life cycle. Words are escaping right now, but how long that purchase journey is, right? If it's really quick, we don't have to maybe go through this as aggressively, but most of the time, again, especially all you B2B, this is a major pain point. We have to be able to talk to them in the different places. And one of the coolest things that I think that B2B gets to do that's unique to B2B is you get to focus on education. I heard the word edutainment earlier. I'm a big fan of that word. I've been using it a lot lately. You get to actually spend time talking and becoming and proving yourself to be a resource to your consumer, so that way they even probably grow in the depth of their connection and commitment with you once they do convert. You have this really cool opportunity. So we have to think about it, about what we're trying to accomplish. I really like sometimes whatever you call it across the top. If it's awareness, blah, 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 right? The regular marketing funnel, sure, go for it. Whatever makes your heart sing. But what I like to do to that next is put it in layman's terms, or put it in human terms right underneath it. Hey, that awareness thing. I think we have this in common. I think we have digital marketing in common. You might find this helpful, right? What's the next thing? Put what you're trying to do in words in the way you'd say it to a friend, or that you're trying to get to know somebody. I think you might find this helpful. Or, hey, I think I might have a solution that will help your problem. And then, hey, I'm looking forward to our future together. And that could take a lot of different shapes. That can sound like a lot of different things. But when we put it into that human language, we're really helping ourselves be able to kind of cross some of those barriers that we experience when we're just thinking about it in these very technical jargon terms. And so with that, then we go through again, what are the goals? What are we trying to accomplish with this? What are the messaging themes? What are the formats, the touch points, the CTA, the KPIs? Jargon. Okay? But what I do also want you to note here is that nowhere in here does it say paid social touch points or paid social messaging themes or organic social goals. They're unified. They're singular because we're not going to be able to get anything done if we're trying to do everything for everyone and everyone's doing a different job. We have to be aligned in that. And that is it's so funny to be standing here talking about it because I've been talking about it for so long and it seems so obvious, but it is the easiest thing to get in our own way. Is that we just don't sit down and talk to each other and figure out how we're all going to attack the same goal. When we are trying to do everything at one time, we're going to get nothing accomplished. So we have to be focused in our efforts. We have to keep it simple. We have to keep it focused. And so with this, we have to really think about, again, social as that organic the social media ecosystem and see it from the human lens and perspective. And then when it comes to measuring, again, here's just another way of looking at it. Creating the metrics, your ROI, how are you engaging against it in these different categories? Again, we're not saying here's how organic social is going to measure success. Here's how paid social is going to do it. We're going to say we're going to look at the social media impressions. That's everybody. That's not different teams. Okay. Again, on the agency side, when I have clients who have them internally, we end up having to be like, well, let me just really quickly filter out just what the organic team has done over here because they're only reporting to that. That gives you such a limited view on what's actually happening. You're missing so much opportunity to see your full picture of what's happening for your consumer. So on and so forth, right? We have to customize what the metrics are and they need to be unified because even if at the end of the day with organic social and my team or influencer, I can't directly maybe impact lead scores, what are the things that I'm doing that do impact that? I might not have a one-to-one metric, but I bet you a lot of money that there are a lot of things I can be doing to support in that. And we're not going to be able to get that accomplished if I'm just being like, that's not my job. Cool. So wrapping up here, I want to give you these tactics. That was strategy. This is tactics. So how do we then integrate the tactics? So that was how do we integrate the big idea? Now, how do we get ourselves working together in the organic and paid social spaces tactically? So we've got leveraging organic data. We can do that by doing A/B testing with organic content. Put the thing up. Put up multiple things, right? Is it going to be a true A/B control test? No, it's a different day. It's seeing it. We're not putting it, and we don't have those control groups, right? But there's zero reason why in this free space we can't say, hey, I put up this blog, and I put up this infographic, and I put up this video, and they're all talking about the same thing. I'm going to see which one kind of gets the most this type of engagement. Cool, I've learned something now. Now I can go to the paid team or whoever's in charge of the paid social pieces. Clearly, I just kind of let's flip how the agency's broken up. My paid team counterparts and say, hey, guess what? We had this really great piece. We learned that this thing, people are kind of resonating with this over this. You should maybe now already have that insight so you don't have to spend those dollars testing some of that. You've already got something to go. It can also help with your ad quality. You're showing engagement. You're showing the platforms that you have this engagement already existing with your community and that you are a reputable, quality brand and presence on their platforms, and that bodes well for you. And then you can use those organic insights to inform the paid campaigns. Again, hey, here's some information about how people are responding to, or the most common question we're seeing lately, whether that's on our own channels or we learned it in Reddit. We saw it on Quora. Here's something people are asking. Let's go out and run ads against it to really say, hey, are you having this problem? Here is the answer, right? We can be that customized. Repurposing content. This is one of my favorite things to talk about. So again, amplifying, hey, this post is doing really well on organic social. Let's get some dollars behind it because I bet more people will like it. But then it's the scalability question. I call this, thank you, English teacher, I call this content parsing. This idea of taking this big piece of content and here's how I'm going to break it up into all these channels. Again, the panel was just kind of talking about this. How do we leverage what we have? And this is how we are actually able to be more customized, because we can say, hey, this piece was from this infographic or this blog or this research paper that we spent all this time and energy writing. We're going to find the pieces that make the most sense for each of that. The content's already written. I just now have to shape it and mold it into something that works for this channel. Next, we've got the targeting and retargeting. We can use the lookalike audiences. We can retarget. We can retarget those engagers. People saw posts lately. I'm going to retarget them now with something that's a little bit more conversion focused, or I'm going to create a lookalike audience of a bunch of engagers that have been active that have just been kind of engaging with the profile lately. Look, there's a bunch of people now who are already interested potentially in your product and your brand, or more inclined toward being interested in it. Your improved ROI. So again, monitoring the performance to guide the efforts, integrating those metrics, using paid ads to encourage organic engagement. I heard that earlier. Hey, comment on this thing potentially, right? Getting a little bit more focused with what we want them to do. Maintaining consistent branding and messaging, making sure there's kind of like a through line through everything we have going on. Integrating our tools and technologies, not just saying, hey, this is the CRM data is just going to be focused on paid, but actually understanding those audiences, using our different tracking tactics, our pixels, our UTMs to understand where things are coming from, so we can understand how different groups of people might be engaging with us at different times. Using advanced tools like Sprinkler, Brandwatch, Sprout Social, anything that's in social listening to, again, listen a little more closely to what consumers might be having to say. AI and machine learning, we've talked about it a lot today, so I'm just skipping that one. And then finally, unified reporting. Again, that integration. As an agency, a big piece of what we do is provide those dashboards and reports for clients to be able to understand it. Our job is to help you also understand how these things need to integrate. And so we have to be telling you that unified message. So our reports need to do that, so you're not having to fight your own agencies with, hey, but on organic, we're doing this thing, or hey, but on paid, we're doing that thing. We have to provide that unified reporting if we're doing unified tactics to be able to actually gauge the success of what's going on. So I know that was a lot of words. Let's all just pause. Let's take a big breath all together. Ready? Lovely. Okay, cool. So slowing it down a little bit, getting the cool jams going. Okay, so wrapping it up here, there's one thing, and I tried to make it really easy. If there's nothing else, I want you to remember this. I talked a lot about a lot of technical things, I'm really good with a lot of words, so I get it. But at the end of the day, we're better together as humans, and that social is social. It's so cliche. Social media is social, but it's true. And it's so easy, again, as marketers, especially in B2B, to get in our own way and forget the human on the other side of the computer. It's one of the most validating, brand remembering things when somebody knows that they have access. And the thing is that the curtain's been dropped. They all know that there's someone like one of you guys on the other side of that screen. They know that there's just somebody else giving them maybe a kind of canned response. So take that opportunity to actually connect with them. And next is using your entire ecosystem. Leverage your paid, leverage your organic, leverage influencers. Use the entire thing to your advantage so you're not just wasting your time and energy, and you're getting the fullness of what this tool has to offer you. So with that, my name is Chalice. It was great chatting with you all today. I don't think we have time for questions, but I will be happy to chat with any of you guys at this break or this evening. So thank you guys so much.